The other people.
Did you leave something here?
Like a goldfish packet.
The goldfish packet. I don't. Maybe someone in your class picked it up. I didn't see it before, but I don't see it now. I'll send it down if I find it. Okay, Frankie. Do you remember what we were reading about last time?
Oh, the trees.
Trees. Do you remember what kind of tree?
Red.
It's a redwood.
Yeah.
It's called a redwood, which is kind of a funny name because they're not actually red, but their needles that they drop are red. So today we're going to finish reading the book.
That?
I just made a copy of it because we're going to do a special activity with it, and I want to be able to write on it. So we talked last time. You came up with some questions. Do you remember what you were wondering before we read? What questions did you have before we read the book?
How do they grow?
How do they grow? You had one other one.
Why they are there?
Why they are there? You've got a great memory. And we found, I had a question. Do you remember what my question was?
How tall was it?
Yeah, how tall? And we found the answer while we were reading. Do you remember what the answer was?
200.
Do you have a photographic memory? That's amazing. We're going to read again today. And today, I'll finish reading, and we'll read a second time. And the second time, you'll read. One thing I want to do while we're reading is to think about things that the sentences remind us of. So when I read a book, one way that it helps me understand what I'm reading and connect with what I'm reading is thinking about other things that it reminds me of. Are you reading another book in your class right now or at home? What book are you reading? Do you remember what it's called? What is it about?
Cat.
It's about a cat. Does it make you think of things outside of that book? What does it make you think about?
How cats.
About cats. Do you have a cat?
Mm-mm.
No. Do you have friends who have cats?
Mm-mm.
No? Do you know anyone with a cat?
Mm-mm.
Does it make you think that you want a cat?
Mm-mm.
No?
I don't like cats.
Oh, you don't like... So you think of... When you're reading that book, do you think, I wouldn't really want this cat? Yeah. So you think about things that are outside of what you're reading, that aren't right on the page. So we're going to do the same thing today because it's going to help us understand what we're reading on each page. So let's finish reading. We left off talking about the trees being able to live through fires. Do you remember why they live through fires? What special thing about them lets them live when there's a fire in the forest? What helps them to live when there's a fire?
They are big and the fire can go high.
It can't reach up to them, right? I think we left off here. Coast redwoods need a lot of water to grow as tall as they do. And the area in Northern California, that's part of one of your states in your region, right? Yeah? Where they live is perfect. It's a rainforest. The air is cool and damp, and the land is often covered in thick fog. Do you know what fog is?
Where there's a lot of, like, selling the white thing? That is
white. It's white. So it's like clouds, but it's where you can see them. It takes a long time for water to travel all the way from the roots to the top of the redwood. And the fog helps the trees by keeping them from losing moisture to evaporation. Do you know what evaporation is?
When there's something going, like something going hard and they can broke. Like
It's like if you put a glass of water out, if you have a little bit of water in it, and you look the next day, and there's no water. The water leaves, it evaporates into the air. The water goes from being water you would drink to being in the air, like fog.
oh, I did that.
You knew that? In addition, the needles of a redwood can take in moisture straight from the air. Can we do that? Can we take in moisture from the air? No, not really. In the summer, when there is much less rain, redwoods have a way of collecting water. They make their own rain. When the fog rolls in, it condenses, so it goes from fog to being water on their leaves. It condenses on the redwood's needles. Do you know what needles are?
These?
Good. And whatever moisture isn't absorbed then falls to the ground to be soaked up by the tree's roots. Other plants that live at the base of a redwood tree use this artificial rain. It's like fake rain as well. So not only do the redwoods water themselves, they water all the plants around them. So do these get rain too from the redwoods? Mm-hmm. The branches of a redwood are called the crown. Do you know what the branches are? Point at a branch here. Which is branch?
Like this ones? These ones?
Yeah, this is the trunk, these are the branches. Good. The branches of the redwood are called the crown. It's like a crown that you would wear on your head because it's at the top. Or canopy. That's the very top of the tree. And start very high up the trunk. To study redwood crowns, scientists have to climb into them. And this is not easy. Because the trees are so tall, researchers, scientists, people who want to study trees, use a bow and arrow to launch a rope up over the branches. So they shoot the arrow and the branch, and the cord goes over the branch so they can climb up the tree. When the rope is secure, when they're not going to fall, when it's tight, they can pull themselves up. It is very dangerous work. So you can see he's going up. He's climbing up to the canopy, to the top of the tree. When the needles fall off a redwood, they decay and turn to soil. Do you know what soil is?
It's like gas.
Soil is like when you're outside and there's dirt, where you would plant plants. You plant plants in soil on the ground. That's where the plants grow. And redwoods are so big that this soil often collects in the trees themselves. So the needles fall off. Sometimes they don't make it all the way to the ground. They fall around them in the tree, and that turns to soil where other plants can grow. Plants that grow on redwoods are called epiphytes. It's kind of a funny word. So this is an epiphyte, this is an epiphyte, because it's growing on the tree. It's not growing on the ground. The most common epiphytes are found in redwoods are ferns. These are called ferns. This type that grows in the tree. In one tree, researchers found ferns weighing more than 1,600 pounds. That's heavier than a full-grown polar bear. It's a lot. Ferns are not the only plants that make their homes in redwoods. Mosses, fungi are like mushrooms. Do you know what mushrooms are?
Yeah.
You can eat mushrooms. Hongos, see? Bushes, and even trees grow in the redwood canopy. Researchers have found a wide variety of trees high above the ground, including hemlocks. These are different names of trees. Hemlocks, spruces, firs, oaks, and California bays. So different types of trees. Do you know a type of tree that's not listed here? Do you know a different name of a tree?
No.
So this is a name of a tree, but do you know any of the names of the trees outside here? There are pine trees, maple trees, so all different kinds of trees. In one redwood, researchers found a California bay tree growing out of a hole in the trunk over 300 feet from the ground. In addition to plant life, scientists have found many animals living in the redwood canopy, including flying squirrels. I don't think there's one. Beetles. Let's see if we can find a beetle. Do you know what a beetle is? It's not on here. It's a bug. It's a bug that crawls. Earthworms. Do you know what worms are?
Worms?
Centipedes, spiders, salamanders, and yellow banana slugs. Oh, this is actually a slug, but it looks a lot like a worm. Some animals like red tree voles, these are red tree voles, live their whole lives in the treetops and never see the ground.
Why not?
Because they live up there the whole time.
What if they go down?
That's a great question. And you just did something that we're about to do the next time we read. You're thinking about it, and you're asking questions. So you're ahead of me. You're doing something really good when you read. You're thinking about questions that you have. I think, I don't know the answer. I'd have to look it up. But I bet they don't go, I bet they don't go to the ground because they have everything they need in the trees. Everything they eat. A place to live.
What they play with?
What do they play like?
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be something that we'd have to look for.
Or if we go, is there snakes in there?
That's another good question. I bet there are a lot of snakes that live in the tree. Let's see if we find out. That might say. I'm not sure. But we could. I bet we could find that if we looked it up on the internet. Those are great questions, Freddie. Many birds live in the tops of redwoods, so they're birds, including bald eagles, ospreys,
owls,
woodpeckers.
What's these?
The northern spotted owl. What are those? Those are mushrooms. Those are fungus. That's fungus. When we saw the word fungi, that just means lots of different funguses. Marbled, so we have all these different animals that live in the treetops at the top, the canopy. When a redwood is injured, when it's hurt, the tree will often sprout new trunks. Can you see where it's sprouting new trunks?
Right here?
That look like miniature versions of the tree itself. If a branch is damaged, a new trunk will grow straight up from the top of the damaged branch. Sometimes more than one new trunk will sprout. Researchers found one tree with more than 200 different trunks. There was a forest of redwoods growing in a single tree. We don't have time today to finish the whole thing. I want to get started on your reading. So this is the same book. I just made copies, and I highlighted certain sentences. While you're reading, I want you to think about what these sentences remind you of. And then you're going to tell me out loud. You could either say, when I read this, when I read this sentence, it made me remember when. So I'm going to give you an example. If I read this, redwoods are among the oldest trees. And I would say out loud, I'd say, when I read this sentence, it made me remember when I went to the West Coast with my family. Or I could say, this part of the book makes me think of a time when
I was
playing with my friends, and there were a lot of trees around. Great job. So why don't you read this, starting with this sentence? You're just doing the highlighted, just the orange part.
Redwoods are
among
the oldest trees.
Good. What does that make you think of? You'll tell me in a full sentence. When I read. Are there any old trees where you live? There aren't any big trees? Have you ever seen an old big tree? Oh, I'm sure you have. You go outside all the time. What does it make you think about when you read the sentence, redwoods are among the oldest trees? Do you know people who are old?
Mm-hmm.
Who's old? Who do you know that's old?
Grandma.
So you could say, when I read this sentence, it makes me think of a time when I saw my grandma. Okay, let's try that with another one.
One tree can live for more than 200,000
2,000.
years.
What does that make you think about?
Did they live 200?
That's what the book says, but in your head, what does that remind you of? What does it make you remember?
Then when the tree falls,
You thought of a tree falling. Just the orange part.
redwoods grow to be more than 200 feet tall.
What are you thinking about?
They are big.
They're big. Is there something it reminds you of or something you remember when you read this sentence? No, we don't have to remember something for each sentence. It's okay.
Such a tall tree start from a seed about the
Sound it out. What sound does this make? S.
size
Mm-hmm.
of a tomato seed.
Do you know what a seed is?
Little thing that you put under the ground.
That you
They
put under
grow
the
up.
soil. We use that word soil. You put it in the soil so it grows. What does this make you think about?
And when my
Your grandma?
not when my mom put like flowers.
She planted flower seeds. Did you help her?
This
Right here.
redwoods also grow from their redwoods.
Other redwoods.
When my dad cut trees, he needs to go back and cut the little.
So when he cuts trees, they also sprout new
Yeah.
ones? Interesting. Does he cut trees in your yard? Yeah.
If there is a fire, this thing.
This rhymes with brick
Brick.
or stick. What does this say? What do those two letters together, what sound do they make?
Extremely.
Oh, this one. This rhymes with brick.
Think.
We're close. It rhymes with brick.
Thick.
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 Not thin, but thick.
Thick. Back.
This rhymes with spark. They're thick.
Bark.
Bark.
Shell.
Shields. Do you know what shields means?
Those things.
If I shield myself, I cover myself. I protect myself. So I'm shielding myself. Show me what you would do if you were shielding yourself.
Run away.
You'd run away. Yep.
Them.
Okay, so we read, if there is a fire, their thick bark
Shield them from the heat.
Did this make you think of things that are hot?
Cause.
This is the region you're studying. What region are you studying?
West.
You're studying the West
Coast.
Coast?
Coast redwoods need a lot of water to grow as tall as they do.
What does that make you think about?
When they're little, when I look them again, they like grow more high.
They grow taller in your yard. Do your mom's flowers do that? Mm-hmm. We'll read 2 more. You're doing a great job.
Summer way when there is much less rain, redwoods have a way of.
That's a tricky one. This word's collecting.
Collecting
So
water.
What does collecting mean?
Like getting water and
Does it run off or does it stay?
Stay.
It stays.
They make their
It rhymes with grown, sown,
own green.
Does that remind you of anything?
When they give you water, they drink it and they grow up.
Anything in your life? Anything you've ever seen? No? All right, 1 more. You're doing great.
The bench of a redwood
Say this one again.
Color.
It rhymes with. Now I have to think of a rhyming word. You said it. Called.
Called.
It's either you could call someone on the phone or it's the name of something. Called the ground.
Or
this one's a tricky one. Canopy.
Start very high up the trunk.
Nice job, Freddie. I'm gonna miss you, dude. I'll see you next year, though. Are you excited to go to Mexico? Yeah. All right. Have a great trip. And don't forget to read. Adios, señor.
Bye.